Welcome to Financial Ginger. I am the insurance agent that is known for picking up his phone. Quotes are always free. You can text my office, 801-216-8444. Again, 801-216-8444. Anywhere in Utah is where I'm licensed. And I'm excited to talk to you guys today. I've got an interesting topic. You'll see this is the first solo episode where I don't have a guest. I'm going to try to do these occasionally to address insurance topics that you guys have asked about. So if you have a question, leave it in the comments. I'm happy to do a more in-depth breakdown about whatever that topic is. So today, I've had a lot of my friends that I've worked with over the years ask me, Jacob, what does it cost to get an insurance quote from you? And the answer is nothing. In Utah, at least for standard insurance, I know there's going to be some agent that's like, that's not true. You can charge a fee for this or this. At least in Utah, it is not lawful to charge a fee for standard auto and home insurance. Sometimes there can be fees if it's like out of state, someone's doing like a surplus lines, which basically means they're not licensed in the state, the company you're working with. Anyways, it gets a little bit tricky. But for 99% of insurance that 99% of you will ever get, auto, home, motorcycle, boat, cabins in the woods, luxury cars, when you're buying like a Maserati or something that has to be specially insured, it should cost nothing to get a quote. And if it does cost you something, message me about it and I'll look into it further because it shouldn't cost you anything. The only time I've had an additional fee for insurance is with certain types of commercial insurance. So you shouldn't have to worry about a fee. Yeah, that's that. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about the cost of insurance, I mean, obviously, right, you have a cost, but you're paying that to the company directly. So if you buy auto insurance, you're paying Progressive, you're paying Geico, you're paying Travelers, you're paying Bear River Mutual, you're paying State Farm, Farmers Farm Bureau, American Modern, American Family, whatever the company is that you're working with, you pay them directly. A lot of people say, well, isn't it going to be more expensive if I work with an agent? And the answer is no. A lot of insurance companies, and the numbers have changed over the years, the cost to acquire a client is usually about 26%. At least that's what I've been told historically. I think Geico and Progressive have both talked to me about that a little bit. It might be higher or lower for different companies or different types of policies. But if a company is spending 26% of whatever you're paying them for insurance to get you as a client, right? To get advertising in front of you or whatever it is, that's their cost. They would rather work with me because most insurance companies pay an agent like me or a broker somewhere between 8 and 18% of whatever, a commission basically of that, right? So your same cost you're going to get, whether you go directly through a company or you call an agent or whatnot. In fact, a lot of insurance companies don't even do advertising because they only work with brokers. So if you think of companies like Dairyland or Gainsco Insurance, trying to think of other examples that are good of that people don't know of. Meridian is one of those companies where it doesn't matter because you can't get a quote from them directly. You can only get a quote through a broker. And it's because they know the customer acquisition fees are so expensive. Advertising in the insurance space is so competitive and expensive. Like we'll let Progressive and Geico do the advertising. We'll let, Allstate and State Farm do their commercials because it's expensive and we're just going to work with brokers. And the reason why they know it works is because, right, if I'm working with 25 insurance companies and I get your information to do a quote, I'm going to just put it in all of those systems. There's kind of two ways agents do it, just kind of the technical side. There's companies like EasyLinks that they're basically take your data and they pre-merge it to all those insurance carriers. This is really boring stuff. You can skip ahead like a minute if you don't want to listen to all the technical stuff, but I find it interesting and it kind of helps you know how your information is used. Put all your information in and then they spit out some preliminary rates. I look at the ones that are the best and then go in and fine tune it, right? Like answer all the questions on the carrier's actual web portal and say, oh, this carrier wants to know, right, if you drink or not. They want to know how many people live in your household, even though you've only got 3 drivers, right? You and your spouse and your teenager. You have 3 other kids. And for some companies, yes, the number of people living in your household makes a difference in price. Kind of weird. So they take all your data, right, put it in. We stopped using those compiler tools where I put all your data in and it pre-bridges it. And I just manually do it because sometimes the rates aren't accurate or some of those questions are wrong. And I have to modify and adjust it. So that's at least the insurance process and what working with a broker looks like. So again, it doesn't cost you anything to work with a broker like me. I'm always telling people I can do free quotes. They're always free. They always will be. Even if Utah does change in the future, some states, brokers are allowed to charge fees for placing insurance. Utah, it's not lawful. But if Utah ever goes back to, they used to be able to. It's my promise to you and anyone is I'm never going to charge a fee for standard insurances. So getting a quote. This is the next one I get asked all the time. So first one is, what does it cost to work with you, Jacob? And the answer is absolutely free. If I don't place insurance, you don't pay anything. If I do place insurance, you're paying the insurance company and you're never going to pay me. The insurance company has a contract that they compensate me depending on the type of policy. If I bundle you, interesting fact, if you place auto and home insurance, not only do you get a discount, but most insurance companies actually give the brokers a larger commission. And the reason why is it's justified. That justification is clients that bundle their auto and home insurance together tend to stick around longer. So the average client stays with an insurance company about 3 to 4 years before switching. Someone that's bundled, it generally is more like 7 years. And I'm using very generic numbers. It varies so much from carrier to carrier and even state to state. But yeah, about 4 years is typical, but bundled it's closer to 7 years. And the more layers you get in, right? Like if you've got your auto and home insurance, and if you own a boat and you have a cabin in the woods and you've got life insurance, and if that's all with one agent, it's hard to leave, right? Because think about it, it's so much work to get all that. Or yeah, anyways, I sometimes hate it because it's like, really, insurance companies are giving me a discount and I'm going to lose the discount if I switch one of them away because my. But yeah, so that's one reason why insurance agents, right? I mean, I'll be honest, I don't care for anything except being honest with you guys about how I'm compensated and how it works. Most important part, again, as I've already said twice, it's always free to get a quote. It will always be free to get a quote. My contact information will be in the description of the video. You can always get a hold of me and I will be as honest as I can be with you, right? I will tell you, hey, here's why your rate is this, or here's some of the factors that make it more expensive. Hey, here's some things you can do to make it cheaper because you've got a 16-year-old driver, blah, blah, blah. I'm always working with people on ideas on how to get their cost down because, right, risk is risk. And if you can modify your risk, you'll modify your price. So that's that. The second question that I get all the time, and I've seen on some of the comments, is, what do you need to do an insurance quote? I'm going to break this into two sections. First one is auto. The second one is home. With auto insurance, there's more information than this, but you really only need about 6 things. And some insurance agents that will listen to this will be like, oh my gosh, Jacob, no, you need to do a full discovery, 3 pages of information. And I just don't like doing it that way. I like to get really basic information, run those quotes, get the preliminaries, and then, hey, let's talk all the fine details. So those details are, I'm going to need your legal name, your date of birth, your driver's license number. And that one isn't always mandatory, but most carriers, it is mandatory. I can't run reports or I can't run clues and MVRs. There's all sorts of things I can't do without. And some of my carriers actually won't let me get a price until I put a driver's license number, which is annoying, but it's that. So name, date of birth, driver's license number, your address, I need to know where you are, and the VIN number for your car. And that one I don't even have to have. I can use the year, make, and model, but the VIN number is going to be specific and get me the exact price. The reason why is, right, if you have let's say a 2012 Honda Civic, there's like 3 different models of Honda Civics, right? There's like the EX and the LX and the L, and someone's going to get upset because that's probably not the right ones. The principle is there are different models of cars. Even within the same year and model, right? Because there's always that base model and it's like, oh, this one has the upgraded powertrain. This one's the four all-wheel drive instead of the rear-wheel drive, or right? And so there's different models, and yes, they're gonna have different prices because one of the many factors that's used for rating auto insurance is the original MSRP, and those different models do have different MSRPs, which kind of drives me nuts because, right? Like, I don't know if any of you have experienced this. If you've experienced it, leave a comment where you go and you're like, oh, I want this car and I want the cheap version. I want the low model. And it's like, oh, we don't even make the low model. Like, I don't know if you've seen that with some car dealers. I'll have to get a dealer in here to talk about some of that stuff. Or it's like, oh yeah, well, the base price is this, but we don't even make the EX version. We only make the LX and the DX. And they're like, then why even advertise? Well, because then they can advertise the MSRP starts at this. But anyways, that's off topic. So yeah, that's how easy it is. That's the only 5 details I absolutely have to at least get you some rough numbers. Name, date of birth, driver's license number for each driver. So if you're married, your spouse, you have teenagers, those for each driver, name, date of birth, driver's license number, and then the address you guys live at and the VIN number for each vehicle. Or again, the year, make, and model is okay. I can get rough estimates. And then after that, we can get into the more finer details, right? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, don't you need to know about my driving history? I'm like, I've got 6 ways to Sunday that with your permission, I can pull your driving record and see speeding tickets, accidents. I can pull a clue report, which is just the insurance companies that share data with each other. That's how, right? If you get in an accident and you're with Allstate and you do a quote with me, I can see that you had an accident. And it's like, well, how? Insurance companies share data through a clue database. I actually don't know what the acronym means. CLUE, clue. And insurance carriers use that to share with each other so they can properly quote your risk. And then we also pull a motor vehicle report, which is your driving record from your state. And right, that'll see speeding tickets, DUIs, speeding in a school zone, texting while driving, all that sort of stuff pulls in. So with your name, date of birth, driver's license number, your address, and your permission, I can pull those 2 reports and I can see to properly rate for you. Right. And obviously there's more questions that can be asked as we get there. Like, do you want to use driving apps? You know, like a lot of insurance companies are offering apps you can install on your phone or devices you can plug into your car that they can track your driving behavior and they give you a discount. Most people don't like those, but it's worth asking about, right? And that's something I'm not going to ask initially, right? I'm going to get you some rough estimates and then we can go into finer details. Hey, how many household members are there? Hey, do you drink and do you drink alcohol? Some companies give a discount if you sign a form that says, I never drink alcohol and I haven't in the last 3 years. That's fine. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small. I had one time where it was like $3 a month and someone's like, yeah, what if I decide I want to? They're like, I don't drink, but I want the option to if I decide to. So I'm not going to sign a form like that. I'm like, cool, not worth it for $3. I have some companies where, right, depending on your risk, it's like, oh yeah, that's $50 a month of discount. Is it worth $600 a year? You decide, make that decision. We can go over how much mileage you're putting on those vehicles each year, right? I usually default my quote at about 10 to 12,000. Your average driver puts about 10 to 12,000 miles a year. I mean, I have family members that drive to California twice a month and they put 30,000 miles a year on their car, right? And I know some people that they're like, I commute from American Fork to Linden 3 days a week. I put 6,000 miles on my car last year. So once I get those initial quotes, we can go more in depth into all those finer details, like how much mileage are you driving each year? How many household members are there? But absolute basics, those are the only 5 details I need to get you rough quotes. And I might be off because, right, when we do quotes, I might think, oh, you're a college student, you're just married. Maybe I'm going to quote you at 5,100 or 100, 300 liability limits, right? Different liability limits you can have with auto insurance. But maybe you go back and you're like, oh, well, I only have state minimums 3065. Great. Let's have a conversation about that. Right? Like, hey, here's what that bodily injury limits means. Are there assets you could lose if you hit someone and cause more than that? Right? If you're a single, poor, broke college kid, maybe you don't need more than that. But also, I'm going to teach you about what about the uninsured and underinsured motors portion, right? If someone hits you that doesn't have insurance, or maybe it's lapsed or whatever the reason is that they don't have insurance, your policy with the underinsured and uninsured motors protection can pay for your medical bills as if they had the same insurance as you. So I know people that are broke college students that they've got 250, 500, right? $250,000, $500,000 liability limits per person. And you don't need to understand the exact numbers, right? It's just 250,000 is way more than 30,000, which is Utah's state minimum limit. And the reason why is if someone that's uninsured hits them, they're like, hey, I know my insurance, my auto insurance will pay $250,000 in medical bills. So there are reasons beyond just your assets to have higher limits. And that's all stuff we should talk about, right? So get me those 6 basic data points. I'll run some brief numbers. And then we can talk all the fine details, finalize a price, and then say, is this better than your current policy? And worst case, I promise you this, if you get a quote from me, you will go back to your agent with questions to ask. Like, I'll look at people's policy and say, hey, you have a $2,000 deductible on your car. Nothing wrong with that. You probably chose that to have a cheaper premium, right? Higher deductible, lower premium. But ask your agent about glass coverage. I don't see you have glass coverage on your current policy. Many carriers, you can add in a $50 or a $0 glass deductible. And then if your windshield breaks, instead of having $2,000, which let's be honest, most cars' windshields are way cheaper than that. I mean, I had my Prius windshield replaced a couple years back and it was like $400, right? But I had a Tesla windshield replaced recently and it was like $1,500, right? So knowing what your Anyways, I told them they should consider that. And they called me back. They didn't even go with me, this person that I did quotes for. And that's fine, right? I want to help you have good coverage, regardless of whether it's best to stay with me or go to a different agent or whatnot. I just want to make sure you're covered. And so I'm like, hey, check your glass coverage, see if it's an option. They called back. They're like, yeah, my carrier offers a 50 or 100, whatever it was, glass deductible. And it added $4 a month to my premium. I'm like, yeah, for $50 a year, your glass is covered for $50 instead of $2,000. That's awesome. And other times it's not worth it. Like I've had situations where it's like, oh yeah, this is a, brand new Lamborghini. Oh yeah, glass coverage is an extra $2,000 a year. Okay, probably not worth that. And I'm being a little bit dramatic with those numbers. But yeah, so anyways, recap. So we talked about cost of quotes, costs nothing to get quotes. We talked about auto quotes, those 6 basic things that we need for an auto quote. And again, name, date of birth, driver's license number, your address, and the VIN number or year, make, model of your car. And we can get more details after we've gotten initial quotes. Home insurance quotes. Here are the, I think it's 6 things that you need for home insurance. So I'll count them out. Same thing as auto. So if you're doing auto and home, you'll need less, but I need your name, your date of birth, and your address. Those are the 3 basic things. If you are moving, like it's a new purchase, I'll want your current address too, right? If you're buying a new home. So your name, date of birth, the address of the home you're purchasing or the one you live in. If it's a new purchase, I'll need your previous address. And that's just because sometimes your insurance history, which is something that is used to determine rates, or that prior insurance, if you already own a home or have renter's insurance, can be used to decrease your rate. And a lot of insurance companies pull that from your current address. So if you're buying a home, a lot of agents will ask for your current address to properly pull your insurance history report, which can usually improve your insurance costs, make it cheaper for you. Not always, but some carriers require it anyways. So it's like, I'm going to need this to do a quote anyways. And then the last thing, and this is a newer thing, for most insurance companies, they want to know how old your roof is. And if you've done insurance quotes, if you're over 20 years old and have done insurance quotes where you're like, I've never had to tell my agent when my roof was last replaced. This is a newer thing in Utah, and complain about it in the comments. Tell me how stupid it is. I agree. I think this is absolutely stupid. But ever since the August hailstorms, August 2024, most insurance companies have changed the way their underwriting works for roofs specifically. So they want to know how old your roof is if your house is over 10 years old, because older roofs can be indicative of more likely you have a claim, right? It's more likely that you might have some deteriorated shingles that could cause a roof leak. It's more likely that some structural integrity has weakened and the next snowfall could cause part of your roof to collapse. It's more likely. Now, obviously a 10-year-old roof isn't a huge risk, right? It's not like your roof's going to collapse, but it's more likely. And that's what insurance companies worry about. They worry about risk. A 10-year-old roof is more risky than a 0-year-old roof. A 40-year-old roof is more risky than a 10-year-old roof. So a lot of insurance companies are asking for the age of your roof, and that impacts your rate. I've had situations where people replace their roof and their home insurance rates lowers like $600. Not always. I've had times where people replace their roof and the rate goes down $5 or the rate even goes up. And the reason why, if your rate goes up after you've replaced your roof, here is why. It's because you likely had an actual cash value endorsement on your roof, which is scary. What actual cash value means is if you have a claim, the insurance company isn't going to pay 100% of it. They're not going to pay 100% of it, right? You have a $1,000 deductible, $20,000 roof replacement from damage on a 30, 40-year-old roof. The insurance company has actual cash value in your policy. Ask your agent about this. I mean, I'm dead serious. Call your agent and ask, what is my roof? Is my roof replacement cost? Is it actual cash value? Or am I on a schedule? And it's important to know which one you're on. Because if you have actual cash value, it means instead of them paying that full $20,000 minus your $1,000 deductible, they're only going to pay a certain percentage of it. And insurance carriers have different ways of doing it. Some we have a little scale based on how old your roof is, and we're going to depreciate it this way. Some it's actually based on the condition or there's a lot of ways they can do it. Get a professional roofer to look at it. If you have a dispute with your insurance company, you can ask for arbitration, get a third party. I actually have an upcoming podcast episode with my friend TJ, who is a public adjuster for roofs, and we will talk about this way more. But knowing that is really important. So I had a situation with someone where their roof was replaced. We removed the actual cash value endorsement because they had a brand new roof and their rate went up. It was like $20 a year. It wasn't a lot, but they're like, wait, should my rate go down? I'm like, well, The reason why it's actually going up is your roof that's 35 years old, we had a 10% actual cash value rider endorsement on it. And I reviewed our notes. We talked to him about it. He'd just forgotten because it had been a couple years. It's like, yeah, if you had a roof claim, we would have only paid 10% of that cost, right? Because it was a 35 or 40-year-old roof. So ask about that. If there's one thing to take away from this episode, if you own a home, ask your agent what type of coverage you have on your roof. Do you have replacement cost value, which is the best? That's your typical, we're going to pay all of it minus your deductible. Do you have actual cash value, which is usually based on the age of your roof, how much percentage they're going to cover? Or do you have a schedule? And schedules are also a little bit newer for many insureds. Some insurance carriers have been doing it for a long time, but it's becoming more common. Schedules, it's kind of like between the two. So what they'll do is they'll say, instead of us determining the actual cash value of your roof at the time of a claim, we're going to do a fixed percentage based on the age of your roof. So for the first 12 years, it's 100%. At year 13, it's 96%. At year 14, it's 92%, or whatever it is, right? Every carrier has a different schedule. And at year 25 or 30, it's 10%. Those are usually cheaper than replacement cost value policies, or sometimes insurance carriers just aren't even offering replacement costs anymore. They're saying we're only doing schedules and it's to protect, right, against loss. It's part of home maintenance that you should be replacing your roof every 15 to 20 or however long it should be, depending on what shingles you get. One way I found to get around it is to get a metal roof, because most insurance companies, their depreciation on metal roofs doesn't start till like year 25. So you're going to get replacement cost value or 100% scheduled for way longer. So a little bit off topic, but that's why we ask about those six things when we're doing a home quote for you, is because that's going to impact rate more than anything. And same thing, right? You might be like, oh, well, don't I need to tell you I had a claim last year? Almost every insurance company will pull claims that are related to that address using that same insurance database where insurance companies share data with each other. But it can't hurt to tell me. But just to make it super simple, right? If you're looking for an home insurance quote, it's not going to be a 30-minute phone call. It's not going to be an hour-long ordeal. If you want, I'm more than happy to get on the phone. In fact, I had someone the other day, Joel, he was on the podcast, and he sent me a message and said, hey, I want a quote. And I said, oh yeah, here's a quick email. Here's the questions I need answered. Here's some additional ones if you want to answer them, but no stress if not. He called me 5 minutes later and said, I'd rather just talk to you on the phone. We talked 15, 20 minutes, right? Got everything. And I ran some quotes for him and then messaged him and sent them to him a little bit later that day. But if you want it as simple as possible, email me, text me, ask for a quote. I'll say, hey, here's those 12 questions, 6 for auto, 6 for home. 3 of them are exactly the same. So it's really like 9 questions if you want both of them done. And then I can get you all those quotes, get them done, send them back to you. I try to get every quote done within 1 business day. So if you call me today's a Tuesday, I should have quotes for you by tomorrow. Sometimes it's same day, depends on how busy I am, right? We've got 8 agents in our office, so it gets hectic sometimes because so many people are asking for quotes right now. But I want to help you. I want to help you personally. So feel free to message me, talk to me. If there's questions you have about home quotes, about auto quotes, about weird things that agents have asked for, leave them in the comments. I would love to do a podcast episode or find a guest or a professional where we can talk about your specific concerns. Feel free to message those to me, even text them to me. Why not? Ask questions about the podcast. Text me 801-216-8444. And I like to say this, 90% of the time, those 6 questions are accurate enough for me to get 90% accurate quotes. So that's how important it is. And then we go over those final details. Oh, I actually drive 8,000 miles a year, not 10,000. Perfect. That made the rate go down slightly. Do you have a college degree? That's a slight discount with most insurance companies. Yeah, I've got a bachelor's degree. Okay, perfect. That dropped it a little bit. How many total people live in your house? Oh, there's 6 of us. I've got 4 kids. I'm like, oh, I just estimated 3 or 4. That made the rate go up ever so slightly. Whatever it is, we can finalize all those details, get you the final rate, and then say, okay, is this a good option? Here's another thing I do that I think is really cool. In addition to sending me those 6 questions, send me a copy of your current policy. If you want, you can redact it. You can scribble out the pricing. I don't care. Some people are like, I don't want you to know what my current price is. That's fine. I don't care. I like looking at that because then I can compare and I can give you suggestions. Like I have really common suggestions for home insurance where people are asking for a quote and they'll send me a copy of their policy and I'll be like, hey, your coverage seems low, right? Like I ran an estimate on the value of your home. You know, it's 3,100 square feet. You've got a finished basement. You've got a mother-in-law apartment in the basement. You've got 2 kitchens. I threw all that in here. You got 4.5 baths, blah, 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 blah. I put in upgraded build quality. A lot of companies just use a flat like build quality you can use between economy and like premium. And based on build quality, it's estimated at 500,000 to 650,000 or whatever it is, or a million to 1 point, whatever it is. It's like your current coverage is less than that. You only have 250,000 or 400,000 or whatever, right? It's less. So I'll be like, it can't hurt to ask, because maybe you ask your current agent, they can increase your coverage and it only costs you an extra $100, right? Like maybe mine is better coverage now, but that's just because my quote's better. You can go to your agent, compare and say, hey, here's a recommendation I got from Jacob. He recommends I have this much coverage. I don't currently have buried utility lines. My liability is only 100,000. He said I should have 500,000 because we have a dog, whatever it is. And you go back to your agent. I actually had someone just the other day where I told him that. I was like, hey, your current coverage is awesome. He was buying 2 rental properties. That's what it was. And he's like, can you run quotes? And I ran him numbers, sent him. I said, hey, if you got other quotes, I'd be happy to review them. He sent me the quotes he got from other insurance companies. And I said, oh, this price is better than my price. They're missing 2 things. Liability's too low. The deductible is higher. It's 5,000. See what they can do with 1,000. He messaged them. They adjusted those 2 things and it was still cheaper than mine. And he's like, sweet, what do I owe you? Nothing, because quotes are always free and reviews are always free. So yeah, thanks for listening. If you have questions about auto insurance, home insurance, or any financial topic you would like to see a guest on the podcast, shoot an email with if you want to be a guest. Maybe you've got financially, I'm looking for budgeters, financial planners, people that help with debt, people that plumbers, roofers, right? Like anyone that has useful things to teach about finance and how to manage your money and how to prevent home claims from happening, right? All that stuff I think is so important. And that's what the other episodes are about. So thanks for listening. Appreciate it. And again, Jacob Johnson, the host of Financial Ninja. I am the insurance agent that is known for answering his phone.